So most people think that they're training their biceps, but what they're really doing is just moving weight up and down from in a position where the muscle is already shortened. What do I mean by that? The key detail that's usually ignored is that the biceps is not just an elbow flexor. It's a biarticular muscle, which means it crosses two joints, the elbow and the shoulder. So that's important for understanding its function, its length, and therefore its ability to produce tension, to produce forces directly influenced by the position of your upper arm relative to your torso. Now here's the problem. If your upper arm is in front of your body, which is what happens in most standard curls, like this. This is a standard biceps curl. And the biceps is already in a shortened position before the movement even begins. So when you start curling, you're not really loading the muscle from a stretched state. You're continuing to shorten a muscle that was already shortened during the curl. And that changes everything from a hypertrophy perspective, because muscles don't just respond to load. So it's a 12.5 kilogram dumbbell, but it could be a 20 or 30 kilogram dumbbell. It will be the same principle. They also respond to stretch. So that initial length, that pre-tension is where a lot of the effective stimulus comes from. So instead of thinking about how much weight you're lifting, you should also think about where the muscle starts. But if you simply moved your arm slightly behind your body, you immediately change the entire mechanics of the exercise. Now the biceps is, especially the long head, is placed under stretch at the shoulder joint, and from that position, when you initiate the curl, you're actually loading the muscle through a longer range, starting from a mechanically disadvantaged position. That's why it feels different. Not necessarily heavier, but sharper, more direct, more localized in the biceps. You can do this very simply. I'll show you this from the side because it's easier. If you sit on a flat bench and you lean back, you just lean back a little bit, not perfectly straight, but slightly lean back. And then you let your arm drift just a little bit behind your torso. And from there, perform a normal curl. Slightly outwardly rotated, because the biceps also rotates out the arm in that supination, with that supination. Now obviously you have to pay attention that your core remains stable, that your shoulders, that you maintain a good posture. So it's not necessarily the best option for a beginner, but it's definitely, in my opinion, preferable to a regular concentration curl. So this would be the option on the flat bench, or you can use an incline bench like this, where this position is already naturally built in, depending on how you adjusted it. But your arms usually just naturally fall behind your body like this, and the stretch is even more consistent than the biceps. As you can see, the movement itself doesn't need to change. You don't really need to swing less, squeeze harder, do it slower, more concentrated, or do it in some exaggerated way, because the main change already happened before the first repetition. It's in the position of your shoulder, as you can see here. If I turn this around, you can see it like this. The shoulder is behind the body, and that affects the biceps. And that's the part most people miss, because they try to increase intensity by adding weight, adding reps, or adding techniques, but they keep the same joint positions. So they're increasing effort without it actually improving the actual mechanical stimulus on the muscle. But once you understand that the biceps is influenced by your shoulder position, you start to see that a curl is not just a curl. So it's really a question of, where is the muscle starting? Is it already shortened like this? Here it's very shortened. Or is it actually being challenged from a stretched position like this, or this, or this? And that's the difference between just feeling your arms and actually training your biceps in a way that makes sense mechanically, biomechanically, for it to fulfill its full potential. If you didn't make the exercise more complicated, you didn't make the weight heavier, it's oftentimes not necessary. You just stopped making it easier for the muscle before the set even began. So just by changing the position, you made it harder for the muscle and you enable it to fulfill its full potential.